This is Steve from Boxing UK in association with Supreme CBD. Delighted to be joined by Joe Gallagher. Joe, how are you?
I'm alright, good to see you, Steve. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Joe, before we talk about the main event here, can we look back on 2022 for yourself?
Yeah, I don't mind that. It was a great
year,
wasn't it?
Many people's trainer of the year. What are your reflections looking back?
No, listen, we were sat here, I wouldn't say we were sat here, but with this time last year, there was New Year's resolutions made, and one was for Natasha Jonas and Paul Butler and Callum Johnson to become world champions. We got 2 out of the 3. I was really happy with that. And then we've seen the emergence of Mark Heffron, finally showing his potential, winning the British Commonwealth, and Marcus Morrison in a shootout with Denzel Bentley. And the development still of Callum Thompson, Clark Smith. Really good year. I was really happy, and I say Natasha Jonas to win 3 world titles and the ring belt is really good, and Paul Butler to become a 2-time world champion and then involved in a history-making undisputed fight, and I thought he acquitted himself very well against the monster.
On a personal level, Joe, what satisfaction did you get? Because some of those fighters you've mentioned have had a pretty rough ride in recent history. To see them reach the pinnacle and have these memorable events, how much does that mean to you on a personal level?
Yeah, I don't necessarily. It's for me, it was all about the 2 kids there that were sort of like, I think, dismissed and kicked to the curb and forgotten about. We're back as world champions, and one now going to 2023 is the number 1 in the world, and the other one was involved in the undisputed. And it was just proud because I knew they always had the ability and the belief, and I was really pleased that they reached the peaks that I knew they were capable of.
Moving forward, 2023, Joe, like I say, you were most people's trainer of the year. Did you get any awards for that? Because you should have.
I don't know that there's a Boxing News one is that March, but I don't know. Listen, it's very kind. I see Roy Keane saying the other day, it must have been great. What a great leader! And like Roy said, it wasn't being a great leader. When you've got people in a team that are the same as you, the same mentality, same work ethic, and want it as much as you, makes the job a lot much easier. So I've always been blessed to work with a very talented group of individuals. We all get on well. We've got each other's back, and the goal and the drive is the same end goal.
Can you give us any hints for what's going to happen in 2023? Last time we spoke to Tasha, she was saying she would have Clarissa Shields.
Well, 2023 has got to be a big year. So we've got 4 out straight away. February the 10th, we've got Clark Smith, Callum Thompson, Macaulay McGowan, Sean Yaxley. I think's got to have a good 2023. He's a kid that I'm expecting to burst onto the scene this year, and that no one's talking about. But then Paul Butler, if he decides to come back and challenge for a vacant belt. Charlie Edwards, get him back out going again, that'll be a big plus this year. Mark Heffron involved in some type of world title eliminator of such, and Natasha Jonas, well, we'll just have to see. Natasha has accomplished everything that she's always wanted to do. I keep saying to her, let's not be greedy now. You said a world title and now you've got 3 and the ring belt. So like I say, there's fights and opportunities out there for her. We're still in negotiations with numerous parties, and I'm sure we'll have an announcement very soon. But Clarissa Shields is one of them. I think that's a fight. I spoke in Sky the other day. That makes big sense, good sense. It's a big fight. It's one of the biggest fights in female boxing to be made at the moment. Clarissa, former 154 ring belt champion. She's 160 now, and she could come back down to fight Natasha for her own belts. And when you look at the end of the year awards, Clarissa Shields was getting female fighter of the year, and runner-up was Natasha Jonas. So I think it is, apart from Taylor Serrano and a couple more fights out there, I think it is one of the fights to be made.
Would be great. Joe, I know you push your time. We've just had the press conference for Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Smith. Just said off camera, we don't see that Liam Smith very often. You laughed and said you're doing the gym, but what do you think happened there? What he said he wasn't under his skin, and then we saw that.
Yeah, like I said to you, it's getting close to weigh-in time, isn't it? It's weigh-in tomorrow, and everyone's weights are down, and I won't say they got under his skin. I think coming away from it, I think Chris looked a little bit more rattled than what Liam did. Liam is never one not to keep his mouth shut. Liam will say what's on his mind there and then, and he won't say, oh, be quiet or come back, and that's how he is. But yeah, listen, I know the event is a pay-per-view, but that was some pay-per-view press conference. I'd say that was a good press conference. You could feel the needle in the room. You could feel everyone go, oh, hands over their eyes, heads in their hands. It was a good press conference, and it's an appetizer for the main event on Saturday night, which has got to be a belting fight.
I know you've got one foot firmly in the Liam Smith camp because of the history you've got with Liam, but how do you see the fight going, Joe? Can you talk us through how you think Saturday night unfolds?
Listen, there's numerous situations. It all depends how they all want to start the fight. Everyone reckons Eubank's got to come out and maybe a bit like a Gary Spike O'Sullivan type performance, come and put it on him and try to do that. Liam Smith can't start slow in the way that he did when he fought Fowler. He got hit too regular and too often. But a motivated Liam Smith, you can see in the Williams fights, he can have that fight if you want it, Chris, or he can box like he did with Williams in the second fight. He's got the better skill set, he's got the better temperament, I'd say. He's got the better shot selection, the better defence. He's not the biggest puncher, but he hits regular and often. Then you got Eubank Jr., who has the speed, has the power, and has the tenacity. Both fighters are proud men, hard men. You can see Chris Eubank Jr. still swinging in the final round against George Groves. The performance from Liam Smith against Jamie Munguia in Vegas was a good performance, and Canelo. So it's, but I'm going to have to go with the kid that I've known and know what he's capable of doing, and that's always got to be Liam Smith.
Two very quick ones, Joe. We've seen this week Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk start to exchange the barbs, a little bit of name calling as well. Do you think we'll see that fight this year, and if so, how do you see that one going?
Hopefully. If it doesn't happen, it's shocking. That just put boxing deep. But this is the year 2023. Boxing, the fights have to be made. Let's get Spence Crawford, let's Tyson, Usyk, let's get them on. You see Lomachenko, Haney's been talked about. The fights have got to happen now. As you see last weekend, and the Misfits and the YouTube boxing itself and helping itself, because the best aren't fighting the best, and this year we've got to come back and show everyone when boxing, you put the best v the best happens, and boxing's a brilliant sport, and get fans out and get them there for the whole event, not just for the main event. So boxing this year has got to pull its socks up, and everyone's got to deliver on all fronts.
Last one, John, it sort of touches on that a little bit. We've just seen a weekend of YouTube boxing, and there was a social media outcry that it's good for boxing, it's bad for boxing, it splits people right down the middle. As a man steeped in boxing, where do you sit on that one, Joe?
Listen, I'm boxing through and through. The fact that they're doing them events is talking about boxing. People are getting in and doing boxing, but it just shows how when people say, oh, don't be YouTube and don't be this and stick to the boxing, try to do too many interviews. Well, it shows the people who are doing too many interviews, who are making a noise on YouTube, they're bringing the fans, the casual fans, call them what you want, the YouTube fans, they're bringing them to the events and packing them out. And boxing needs to look at that a little bit, and some fighters, like I've always said, you shouldn't have to flip tables to sell crowds. You look at Canelo, Lomachenko, Usyk, no one's flipped the table there, and they're three at the new age. They're the best fighters in the world. So, like I say, years ago, Leonard wasn't flipping tables. So they've got to absolutely put the best, and I think the reason why boxing's dying is because the best aren't fighting the best. People are talking about Anthony Joshua wanting a warm-up for Dillian Whyte. There's a prime example. So I don't want to call that out, but when you hear that, he wants a warm-up for Dillian Whyte, it's, come on, let's get back in the mist. Let's put Joshua in as Luis Ortiz or somebody like that of note. You're near enough undisputed world champion, and I think that's what happens now. Spencer got to fight Crawford, and they've just got to happen, and that's what we want to see happening. If we put them fights on that we all grew up watching, the four kings, then boxing will be in a healthy place.
Well said, Joe. I grew up with Eubank, Ben, Watson, Collins, and it was that rivalry that gets the likes of me interested in boxing, not these YouTubers. So
well got promoted like Oscar De La Hoya, the amount of top frame fighters that he fought at the time, Shane Mosley, Floyd Mayweather, all of them joined Trinidad. They just wanted to fight. Hopkins, it's that era. We need to get that back and get it going. And otherwise, boxing's got to slowly decline.
Well said. Very, very last one, Joe. Just rounded at the public. When do we next see you again?
Well, February the 10th, I've got the four lads out, and then we'll all be out back again in March.
Brilliant. Joe Gallagher, I look forward to speaking to you neither that time. Cheers. I really appreciate your time.
No problem, good to see you. Thank you.